person. And here's what happens. Here's the beauty of what happens, I think, when we greet people. First thing is this: greetings help us to invite others in rather than push them out. You see, as I was reading this passage, I thought to myself, how is it that both Jews and Gentiles, rich, poor, men and women, free and slave, all come to know Jesus? Like, how is it that Tertius, a slave, is mentioned in the same sentence of Herod's great-grandson? Or Erastus, the city treasurer? I would imagine that they all came to Jesus because it started with what? A simple greeting. It started with a simple greeting. If you're wondering what's the magical way into God's family, it's through greetings, saying hello. That's the strategy here, right? And so when we greet, it helps us to begin the process to invite him in rather than push people away. It begins to form us into an invitational kind of people. Now, some of you might know where I'm kind of going with this, and it'll make you a little nervous because here he goes. He's talking about sharing my faith or like evangelism, and like, 2021, that just feels weird to talk about evangelism, right? Because we honestly think we're doing people a favor by not talking about Jesus with them. But there is something wonderful and simple in the way that we turn ourselves to greet people that creates an opportunity to also invite them in. One of my favorite stories of this is from John chapter 1, the very beginning of John's gospel. It's the setting where Jesus is taking his time to personally invite people to follow him. And he says this there in verse 43. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. He found Philip and told him, "Follow me." Now, Philip was from Bethsaida, the hometown of Andrew and Peter. But Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and so did the prophets." In other words, Philip is saying, the one in our Bibles, the one in the Old Testament, we found him. Like, I know where he's at. Notice how it goes. Jesus, the son of Joseph from Nazareth. We found him. It's Jesus. It's the son of Joseph. Now, notice Nathanael's response. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? I love Philip's response to that. Come and see, Philip answered. Come and see. You see, the beauty of this exchange is that, like many of you, like all of us, right, when we try to share our faith, occasionally someone hits us with a question we don't know how to answer. Someone hits us with a concern, a doubt. Maybe they had a bad experience at church, right? They just hit us with an objection that stuns us. We don't know what to say. This happens to all of us. It's natural. And it happened to Philip. Can anything good come from Nazareth? Notice, Philip doesn't have an answer, nor does he dismiss the objection of the person. He just continues with this attitude of invitation. 3 simple words: come and see. Let's find out together. Nathanael, that's a great question. Let's discover Jesus together. In other words, there's a relational dynamic at work here in our invitation, where you are going with somebody as they begin to discover who Jesus might be in their life too. And it all starts with a greeting, a simple greeting, a simple greeting. And I know this still feels so hard, I think, for some of us, and I think we need to think of it like this. Inviting others is ultimately about joining God where he is already at work. Right? And what I mean by that is sometimes when we think about sharing our faith, we feel though as if like there's this obligation from God that we have to like speak about him. And so I have to take God where God isn't already. Or I got to take God where God is needed, rather than understanding that God is inviting us to join him in the work that he is already doing in their life. That is the work of sharing our faith. That is the call to evangelize. That is the call to greet people, to realize that God is already at work. He is already at work doing something incredible, you guys, incredible. In fact, as Paul ends this chapter, he closes with a benediction in which he uses this phrase: according to the command of the eternal God, to advance the obedience of faith among all the Gentiles. In other words, Paul's saying is like, man, there's this grand vision he has as he's blessing the church, saying, by the strength of God, by God's ability through the gospel, Paul sees all Gentiles are going to come to faith. In other words, he's got a big, grand vision for evangelism. Everyone is going to come to faith. They're coming. Do we have that same kind of attitude when we greet people? Or do we feel as though like, man, so for whatever reason, I got to bring God into the situation, right? Or I got to be like a defense attorney for God. Or I got to really like be a good marketer for him. We have, I think, in our lives such a twisted view of evangelism and sharing our faith and inviting others in, where we can be so right, so nervous, and miss the whole boat. I remember this happened to me a number of years ago. I was coming out of a grocery store with Ashley, and it was late, the long day of work. I'm loading up waters into the back of the car, and I get surprised in the dark by a Mormon. They just, poke up, dressed nice, and he's ready to share. He's a nice elder man, hands me a pamphlet. We start talking about Jesus, and I just snap. I just go off on him. I'm just correcting him. You don't know this. I don't know. I got the right Jesus. Like, the whole exchange was terrible. And it was amazing that, man, in that moment, you can feel so right and at the same time be terribly wrong about the attitude and heart of Jesus. There was nothing in my response and argument with him that communicated God loves this person and would invite him in. Nothing. Absolutely nothing about it. And now I might not at all agree with the message of cults like Mormonism. I might not even agree with the method, right? I don't know if handing a piece of paper is necessarily going to change someone, but I am deeply convicted by their ability to invite other people in. It is amazing to me at their ability and their passion behind invitation. We have got to remember that God is already at work. Think of Luke 19. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save the lost. We act as if Jesus has stopped doing that job and left it all on us. And I don't think it's so much that Jesus has stopped pursuing the lost, but we have stopped joining him in the pursuit of the lost. We treat it as if it's like our burden and we have to do this. No, it's about joining God where he is already at work. And even the term lost, you guys think about this, to be lost implies that you are searching for a home. Why is it that Christians today use the term lost as like a word of condemnation or to categorize someone? Jesus used it as a word of compassion. He's pursuing people who need him. And the invitation is not to feel a burden that I got to talk about my faith, but I get to join God in the work that he is already doing. And to see where God is already at work behind the scenes, doing things I can't possibly understand,